we're going to come to our mats. And we're going to start by laying down nice and flat to the mat. Little gap between the low back and the floor. We want to be mindful of the rib cage, the shoulder girdle, to ensure that we're not arched so far up off of the mat that the very tops of our shoulders are pressing down against the floor, that we can feel the weight of the chest and the weight of the shoulder blades, the rib cage pressing down into the mat. Even if that means that your shoulders rolling forward, rolling kind of up and off, the shoulder blade starts back here, so we want to feel that contact against the mat, not necessarily the edge of your shoulder, that rotator cuff section. And we're going to reach nice and long with the arms. On the exhale, we're going to tilt the hips back, imprint the low back flat against the mat, drawing navel to spine, creating that scooping, that hollowing, and that draw of the core all the way up and in. And then articulate back towards the tailbone. Ribs and abs are knitted in nice and tight, keeping the motion out of the upper body as you work those pelvic tilts. Hips are tilted back, ribs are knitted in, belly draws in nice and tight, and then we roll along the spine back towards the tailbone. Let's do one more pelvic tilt. And we'll pause back at neutral. Fingers are going to interlace. We're going to bring our hands back behind the head to support the head neck. And on the next exhale, we're going to fold across the midribs to lift the chest, folding deep at the midribs. Chin slightly drop down towards the chest, and then slow on that next exhale to reset back to the mat, keeping the ribs knitted in, the abdominals drawn in nice and tight. And exhale, fold and lift. Holding for that breath. And slow to reset. Keeping the tension in the abdominals in the back, the same as when you lift for when you drop back to the mat. So we keep that core pulled in nice and tight. Ribs are stitched together as we fall back towards the floor. And we fold and lift. Ideally, we're trying to maintain that little arch at the small of the back, that little space between the low back and the floor. We fold and lift for our next chest lift, really supporting the head and the neck with the hands and the arms. Let the head fall back into the arms, and we're going to twist through the midribs, over and onto that right shoulder blade, and through to center, twisting and moving over to that left shoulder blade. Nice smooth rotation, slowly from side to side. Hips are nice and stable, the legs are still, we've got that good abdominal engagement. Allowing the rotation to come through the midribs. And we feel that even weight from pocket to pocket, foot to foot, as we twist from side to side. Last one as we rotate over to that left side, back to center, and slow on the reset to the floor. Arms are going to come nice and long down by your side. We'll bring our right leg up to tabletop. Reach long with the arms, stretch through the neck, and on the inhale, we toe tap the mat, maintaining that bend in the knee as we move the leg at the hip. Light pressure in the right foot, in the left foot as we press the foot down against the mat. So you feel that left hamstring engage. As that right foot is moving, that right leg is moving, we've got good stability on that left side. And we'll rest that right foot to the mat. Reach again nice and long with the arms. We'll bring the left leg up to tabletop. And we're going to hinge at the hip. Toe to tap the mat. Draw the belly in nice and tight as we move the leg from the hip. Keeping that bend in the knee throughout the motion. So we're finding the floor by moving the thigh, the knee away from the chest. Bracing through the core, good pressure on that right leg, right foot to connect to the hamstring and into the abdominals. And the left foot's going to rest here to the mat. Arms are nice and long down by your side. We've got that parallel leg and foot position in line with the sit bones. And then exhale, hips tilt back, and we're going to peel and curl up into our shoulder bridge. Ribs and abs stay knitted in. Squeeze through glutes and hamstrings as you lift. And then slowly articulate down along the spine, piece by piece, rolling all the way through back to the tailbone. Exhale, hips tilt back. We imprint that low back and begin to scoop and bridge, lifting up off of the floor. And slow to descend down to the mat, piece by piece. Being mindful of the rib flare. At the top of that bridge, we want to fold the chest in. Pull the rib cage down more. Feel that connection at the abdominals. At the top of the bridge, so we're not putting too much pressure on the mid or upper back. Last bridge, last pelvic curl. And we'll reset the hips back to the floor. Arms are going to come up overhead, palms facing up towards the ceiling. Not all the way to the floor. You want to be able to seat the chest and the ribs down into the torso. And on the exhale, arms flow forward. We lift the head, neck, and chest, bringing our line of sight right between the thighs. Next breath, we reset to the mat. Keep that tension in the abdominals knitted in through the rib cage as the shoulders and the head come back to the floor. And exhale, fold and lift. Nice deep fold at the mid-ribs as the arms reach long. If you can, try to keep the pelvic tilt out of the movement. Find that fold just at the bra line. On our next lift, we'll stay up, we'll stay lifted. Chest stays lifted, anchoring into your sit bones, to your pockets. On the inhale, arms reach up, back by the ears. And exhale, they lower down. Try not to let the shoulders, the head drop to the floor as the arms glide to overhead. Three, we'll reset the upper body to the mat. Let's bring our heels together, turn the toes and the knees out, flat feet to the mat, reaching the arms nice and long. We're returning to our bridge. We're going to tilt the hips back, imprint the low back flat against the mat as you peel and curl up, pressing into the heels, squeezing into the glutes as you pull the ribs together, tighten up through the core, pulling it into your center line and slowly articulate down along the spine, piece by piece, all the way through to the tailbone. Keep reaching nice and long with the arms. Nice and smooth with the bridges, trying to evenly reset the spine down along the mat. One more bridge. One more pelvic curl. And resetting to the mat. We'll square the legs off. Bring the legs up to tabletop position and arms come back overhead, palms up towards the ceiling. On the exhale, arms flow forward, we lift. Head, neck, and chest. Nice deep fold at the mid-ribs. Trying to find that deeper fold to bring the shoulders up off of the mat. Anchor towards the tailbone. Try not to pull that flexion into the small of the back. Nice, slow, even pace. Try not to rush the movement or bring too much momentum. We stay up, we stay lifted on this next chest lift. Hands come to the knees. Into that single leg stretch, we reach that right leg forward and then switch. Hands transfer to the tabletop knee. Keeping that deep fold at the mid-ribs, chin slightly tucked down towards the chest to the collarbone, and we stretch. Reaching the leg out nice and long. Finding that deep fold at the mid-ribs. 2 more leg extensions each side. And we'll reset the upper body to the mat. Feet come to the floor, just in line with the sit bones. Reaching the arms long. We're going to lift the heels up slightly off of the mat, off the floor. Feel the weight across the ball of the foot and through the toes. And on the exhale, we're going to tilt the hips back, returning into our bridge. And we're going to peel and lift up. Holding nice and strong at the top. And then slow to reset back to the floor. We want to lock the foot into that position. So as we're bridging, we're lifting, the heel isn't rising and falling with the movement, trying to stabilize the foot as much as we can. Nice and slow as we glide along the spine. One more bridge with heels lifted. And we'll drop the heels to the mat, pull the toes up off of the floor. So you're in that dorsiflex position, stretching the bottom of the foot. One more breath. And we'll reset the foot, bring the legs to tabletop. Arms are going to reach straight up for the ceiling. On the press of the arms, we're going to lift the head, neck, and chest and send both legs forward, straight out over the mat. Glide back to tabletop. Upper body resets, but hands reach to the ceiling versus overhead. Press and lift. Deep fold at the mid-ribs. We reach. Nice and smooth. Finding that deep fold across the bra line, stretching the legs out. Finding that full extension of the knee as the legs reach. One more. We'll tuck the knees in towards the chest, holding to the shins. Drop the shoulders, the head back to the floor. Allow the low back to stretch. You can rock a bit from side to side. Shoulder blades are flat. Collarbone is spreading wide. Head and neck can look right and left. And legs return to tabletop. Moving into our double leg stretch. We fold and lift. Coming up into that nice deep chest lift. Hands are resting at the knees. On the inhale, arms and legs move out. Away from the center line. And arms circle around back to that tabletop leg position. Keep the chest up and lifted. Drawing the abdominals in, the ribs pull in tight. Inhale to open and reach. Three, 2, and 1. Feet come down to the mat, upper body resets. We're back to that heeled in position, toes are turned out. We're in our small V. And we're going to come up onto the ball of the foot and the toes a little bit. So I've got a little lift of the heels pressing together up off of the mat. Legs are turned out into that external rotation, and we're back to bridging. Exhale, hips tilt back. We're going to scoop and curl. Squeeze the heels together. Feel that tension travel up the back of the leg into the hip. And next breath, we curl down. Again, trying to maintain the same height of the foot throughout the movement. So there's no lifting and lowering of the foot on and off of the mat. Rolling along the spine, piece by piece. Nice and smooth as you glide along the back. One more pelvic tilt, one more curl. Bridging up into that nice strong position. Let's hold at the top and we'll drop the heels together for the mat and lift the heels up. Lift and lower. Trying to keep the hips elevated and lifted throughout the movement. 3, 2, and 1. With a high heel pressed together, we curl down out of that bridge, rolling along the spine, back to neutral. Let's square the legs off, recenter the body back to your mat. We're going to float that left foot just an inch or so up off of the floor, and on the inhale, we're going to straighten and extend that right leg out across the mat. Bending at the knee, drawing the heel back towards the hip, and inhale, extend and lengthen. Finding that full extension of the knee, we draw the heel back towards the hip. Ribs and abs stay knitted in nice and tight. Right foot comes back, rests in line with the sit bone. Take a moment to reset. Left foot floats up off of the floor and we reach out. Trying to skim the floor, skim the mat with the leg, finding that full extension and then drawing the heel back towards the hip. Extend and lengthen, reaching out nice and long. Ribs draw in, drawing your belly to your back. One more extension with that left leg. And draw the heel back towards the hip. Feet and legs pull together. Arms are going to open out to your T. We're going to rock the legs, the hips over to the right. Look out over that left arm, that left shoulder. Pull the rib cage in, draw the chest down and in. And breathe. Focus on that stretch, that connection to your center, to your spine. And we'll switch. Legs sway and shift to the left as the head and neck looks right out over that right arm and shoulder. Trying to sink the upper body, the shoulder girdle down against the mat. One more each side. Rocking the legs back to the right, we look out over the left. And next exhale, we come to center and shift. Legs go left, head goes right. And back to center. Arms come back up, reaching up for the ceiling. We'll bring our legs to tabletop position. Exhale, arms lower down as we lift the head, neck, and chest. Legs reach forward, straight legs open, close, back to tabletop. See if you can maintain your chest lift. Going for another repetition with just the legs. Reaching them out nice and long, nice and strong. You can reset the upper body in between leg sets. Last two. And we'll bend the knees, rest the feet, arms return out to our T position. And we'll bring our legs to tabletop to move into our spine twist supine. Taking our legs, the hips, the low back, because we're twisting through the broad line, through the mid-ribs to drop the legs to the right. And exhale back to center. Inhale, twisting along the mid-ribs. We move to the left, onto that left hip. And exhale back to center. Gliding side to side. Finding that rotation at the mid-ribs, rolling from hip to hip. Collarbone spreads wide as the ribs and the abdominals knit in. 2 more each to each side. And we'll bend the knees, drop the feet to the mat. We'll straighten that right leg up towards the ceiling. Fingers are going to interlace. We're going to bring our hands behind the head, fold and lift, head, neck, and chest. And on the inhale, the right leg lowers to the mat. Flex at the ankle, draw the toes back, and we kick up. Point the toes. Lowering the leg on the inhale. Flex at the ankle and lift. Nice straight long leg moving in the hip. We're going to pause the right leg at the top. Toe is pointed. As the leg lowers, chest and head are also going to lower back to the mat. And then as we flex at the ankle, kick that right leg up, we lift. Head, neck, and chest. Point the toe, extend the leg down towards the floor. Drop the shoulders, the head back to the mat. And fold and lift. Kicking that right leg up. Last 2. Reaching the right leg out nice and long. Feeling that stretch out of the hip. Bending that right knee, placing the foot to the mat. Let's reset the upper body to the floor. Hug the elbows in around the face, round through the upper back. And elbows flare out wide, chest opens and expands. Pressing the elbows down towards the floor, allowing the chest to open. And then arms fold forward, wrapping around the face as if you're bringing your elbows together over your nose. And open and stretch, ribs in, back, upper back flat. And slow to reset the arms and the shoulders. Bringing that left leg straight up towards the ceiling, we're going to fold at the mid-ribs back into that chest lift, and we inhale to lower that left leg down. Flex at the ankle, pull the foot back, we kick up. Point the toe, reach and lengthen that left leg. Flex and kick up. Finding that nice deep fold at the mid-ribs. Your head is resting back comfortably in your hands. Left leg lifts. Point the toes. As the left leg lowers, the upper body drops back for the floor. Flex at that left ankle, left leg kicks up, and we fold at the mid-ribs, finding that chest lift. Inhale to open and move away from your center, and exhale, fold and lift. Adding that kick. Last 2. bending that left knee, bringing the upper body back to the mat. Arms will come down nice and long by your side. Let's walk our heels just a little bit closer to our hips. Reset the upper body. And right leg is going to come to tabletop, working into our single leg bridge. We're going to tilt the hips back, peel and curl up, and slow to lower. Rolling along the spine piece by piece. One more single leg bridge, pressing strong through that left leg. And we'll drop the right foot back to the mat. Take a moment, find that reset before bringing the left leg up to tabletop and hips tilt back. Drive into that right leg and we lift. Be mindful of the rib flare. Try not to overuse the muscles in your back. One more. And slow to reset. Feet to the mat, soles of the feet together, knees fall out to the side for that butterfly stretch. We let the legs fall to the floor. Arms can open out to a T and sink to the mat as well. Drawing the rib cage in. One more breath, and slow to unwind. Legs are going to reach out nice and straight. We're going to work into our roll up. Arms are going to come up over the chest. Legs are stretched nice and long, pulling together. Inhale, arms flow forward, head, neck, chest lifts. And we're going to curl piece by piece. Rolling up nice and slow, keeping the head back over the ears, over the shoulders. Reaching out nice and long, stretching forward over the legs. Draw the shoulders down, away from the neck, away from the ears, and then hips tilt back. We curl back along the spine, segment by segment. Roll back only as far as you can without the legs popping up. I'm going to keep the hands and the arms just over the chest. I don't want to over-activate my lats or my mid-back. It'll be more challenging to reset that chest lift. Inhale, arms flow forward, head, neck, chest lifts, and then exhale to curl and roll. Drawing the belly in, finding that C curve as we curl and roll up, stretching out long over the legs. Trying not to over-shrug the shoulders, and we curl back. Segment by segment, piece by piece. And rolling back, finding that nice slow cadence, that smooth move down to the mat. On this last roll up, we're going to curl forward, stretch forward, flex at the ankle, pull the toes back. Try to reach for the feet and then walk the hips a little bit. So you can come out of that pelvic tilt. You can stretch along the back of the upper leg, drawing the glutes back a bit so you're on the sit bones more. We're drawing the top of the foot back towards the shin. Feeling that stretch run up the back of the leg. Fighting for that movement at the ankle to draw the top of the foot back. And then we slowly restack the spine, sitting up nice and tall. We're going to bend that right knee, place the foot flat to the mat. Doesn't need to be close to you. We're just going to draw that left foot back towards the shin, more hinging at the ankle. I'm going to move that left leg out to the side just a little bit for more space. Sitting up nice and tall, that left leg, thigh from the hip, is going to internally rotate and externally rotate. Think of it as like a windshield wiper. But the leg controls the movement. So the knee, the shin, the ankle, the foot only twists as much as what the upper leg will allow for that internal and external rotation. Hinging forward a little bit more for that extra stretch. Nice flat back, proud chest. And we'll switch sides. Left knee will bend. We'll straighten that right leg out and walk that right leg, out to the side just a little bit. Flex at the ankle, draw the top of the foot back towards the shin. We're going to sit up, sit tall, and we're going to turn and twist that right leg in and out. Allowing the leg to move from the hip, and then the knee and the shin follows. We want to avoid rotating the leg and then letting the foot move more. Keep the foot, the ankle locked in with the rest of the leg. Nice flat back. You can hinge and pivot forward more. And we'll slowly unwind. We're going to come to our kneeling position. We'll do our lunge stretch. Add a little bit of plank while we're here as well. So let's walk our right foot forward. Left knee is down. Remember, you can also do this from a straight back leg if you can't put the knee on the ground. Nice and tall through the upper body. If I sit up really tall, I can already feel that stretch coming through the thigh, through the hip. Light engagement in that left glute as I press forward. Chest stays lifted. Everything is zipping and knitting and nice and tight, both abdominals and back extensors. Holding for another 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We're going to go hands down to the mat. Curl the toes back on that left leg. Stretch and straighten that left leg back. And then right foot, right leg steps back. And we're in for our center plank. Tailbone slightly tucks. Shoulders are sliding down and back. Neck is nice and long. Ribs and abs knit in. Legs are pressing strong. We hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Knees drop. Sit back for a moment. Round the spine. Stretch back towards the heels. And then we'll curl up. We'll bring this left foot forward. Nice and tall through the body, stretch the spine. Want to be as upright as possible, light engagement in that right glute, and then we drive forward. Feeling the stretch in that right thigh from the knee all the way up towards the hip. We're drawing up from the pelvic floor through lower, middle, upper abdominals, pulling the rib cage together, using those back extensors, holding for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hands come to the mat. We're going to curl the right toes under to straighten that back right leg. And then we'll step that left foot back. Nice, proud chest. We're in that strong center plank. We hold for another 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Dropping the knees to the mat, we sit back towards the heels and stretch out overhead. And we curl and roll up. We'll walk that right foot forward again. We're going to come into our pigeon stretch. Walk that right foot across to the left side of your mat, and then we'll lay that leg down. Lifting up nice and strong, extending the spine. If you can, bring that left arm up and stretch up towards the ceiling. See if you can add a rotation. And left hand down to the mat. And try to move to the other side. Right arm up. Rotate and reach. And hand down to the mat. Let's reach back with that right leg. And we'll step out. Returning to that center plank, either on the toes, you could switch to your knees, holding strong here. Pushing up away from the floor, using your glutes, your abdominals, those back extensors to hold the position. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Knees drop, stretch back, round the spine. And left foot will come forward. Walking that left foot to the right side of your mat. We'll lay that left leg down. Chest is lifted. And if you've got the balance, take that right arm up overhead. Twist and reach. Look up to the right. And right hand down, and we'll switch. Left arm up. And hand down. Slide that left leg back. You're on quadruped, knees and hands. Glide those shoulders down the back. Bring your knees in underneath the hips. Let's tuck the tailbone under, round just the low back, and reset the hips and the lumbar spine to neutral. Inhale, chest lifts up, head lifts. Not moving the low back, and then chest drops, upper back drops to neutral. Tailbone tucks on that exhale, and neutral. Inhale, chest only lifts. And neutral spine. Exhale, hips tuck under. And back to neutral. Inhale, chest lifts up. Thoracic extension. And neutral. One more. Tailbone tucks on that exhale. And inhale, chest lifts up through the ceiling. And then we sit back. Hips to heels, walk the arms forward, stretching out nice and long overhead. On the next exhale, we'll slowly restack the spine, curling up piece by piece. Arms reach up overhead. You could do this seated with legs crossed or knees bent out in front of you. And we reach up and over to the right. And back to center. Extend and lengthen up and over to the left. And center. One more hinge from side to side. rest down by your side. All right, guys. Awesome work today.